If it looks like I've been in a fight, it's because I have been, but I finally won. So, yay! I finally finished this. This will count as my last book of 2021. It's also like probably one of the first books, not the first book, but one of the first books I started this year, and it took me all year because I did get to a certain point, set it aside, and finally determined to finish it before the end of the year. We will talk about it in just a moment. But before we get into that, I will say I tried to read this one. I thought I was going to love this. I love Southern Gothic. I love a good gay story. I got 60 pages into this and I just couldn't, you guys. It's, to me, overwritten. And I didn't like any of the characters, like the main... So this is a story about... It starts out with this main character, Andrew, who... His adopted brother slash best friend, they're like the same age, has committed suicide, and he goes down to, you know, where this brother was, Eddie, I think his name was, I don't even remember now, had been doing like a graduate school program, which Andrew was supposed to join him in this program anyway, but hadn't yet, and he goes down there to try and kind of take over Eddie's house. Like, Eddie leaves him everything, so he's like taking over Eddie's house, which means he inherits Eddie's roommate, and he's also trying to figure out what Eddie was working on in his grad program, and all this stuff. Anyway, there's like some ghosty stuff going on because Andrew can see ghosts or sense ghosts or something, but he was so unlikable and so like, it's one of those things where like, yes, I get that the main character is going to be tangled up in some deep feelings when like somebody important to him has died. I get that, but it's almost like it was too much. I was like, okay, where's the plot? The plot has something to do with this weird graduate student program about Southern Gothic and ghosts and stuff. I don't know. It wasn't for me. It was overwritten. There's like some street drag racing kind of side thing going on, and I really hated that. It was also my least favorite thing in the Raven cycle. I mean, Ronan and his stupid cars and stuff, you know, so it's just, that's not for me. I worked for a guy once who, like, Formula One, or no, it wasn't Formula One. He was a NASCAR guy. I'm sure I would be in trouble for suggesting he was a Formula One person. He was a NASCAR guy, and, like, so I don't know. I don't need it. I'm not interested. So, anyway, bottom line was, I got 60 pages in. It was so, just like I said, overwritten, kind of just self-indulgent style of writing that I could not get into. I don't mind literary, like, elevated writing, but this was just, it just felt very self-indulgent in a way that I didn't care for. Now, Conjuring of Light. Okay, the third in the Shades of Magic series. I loved the first book. I did not enjoy the second book. I ended up, I think, skimming the second half of that book, which focused so much on Lila, and I don't like Lila. I don't like Lila. I can't. I find her obnoxious. I find her kind of one note. She's very, like, and, like, this whole, like, her being afraid of commitment and you know, wanting to be free. I think people read that as, oh, she's independent, or, you know, she's a strong female character, and I'm like, nah, she's just annoying. For me, that is obviously a subjective feeling about her. So the nice thing about this book is that, though obviously Lila's still a big part of it, you get a lot more of all the other characters. Rye, and I say Rye because there's not an S. It's not Reese like the Welsh name, right? So I don't know how it's actually supposed to be pronounced. I don't listen to audiobooks. I don't know. I say Rye. Sounds good to me. Alucard. I don't know why I want to say his name as if he were French. It just presents itself that way to my brain. Kell. We get Holland's whole big backstory in this, which I get, like, to make him more sympathetic, because and spoilers, but this book is old, and if you've read the first two, you kind of know how these go. You know where Holland's gonna end up, and there's a lot going on in this book, and there's a lot of little side things and subplots, and you lose the main villain, like, partway through. He just kind of falls off and then pokes his head up towards the end, like at about 80%, and you're like, oh yeah, he's still just doing whatever he's... Anyway, I feel like it wasn't well organized or well sorted. I feel like we needed more time with the palace intrigue and less time with random pirates at sea. There were chapters and chapters of these pirates attacking a ship, and Kell and all the others fighting them off. Meanwhile, suddenly, out of the blue, there's like this palace plot that gets like done in like a flash, and I was like, that would have been a lot more interesting to read about. That feels like that should have had a lot more time devoted to it than these pages and pages of people on a boat. Anyway, bottom line is, I still liked it a lot more than the second book, not nearly as much as the first. At least I finished it. At least it's done. Yay! So this puts me at 65 books for the year. I know that we still have a couple weeks left in December, but I don't anticipate finishing anything of significance between now and then. I did read the last Takane on Hana, which I read that yesterday, and so that was 64, and then this was 65, because obviously I DNF'd this one, so it doesn't count. I will be putting together my end of the year video soon, and it will list everything I've read, and all the stats, and all that good stuff, and I'm starting to plan for next year. I think the first book on my TBR for next year is The Beautiful by Renee Adia? I don't know how to say her last name, but my daughter read it. She's really keen for me to read it, and I think there's a sequel probably called The Damned, Beautiful and the Damned, I assume. I don't know, but I think I've heard that. So that's on my list. Yeah, I don't know. I need to go poke around and see what's on my TBR for next year and start setting up my reading journal for next year, so I'm excited to do that. But yeah, so 65 books, it feels like a good number for me, because last year I think I read 67 or 68. The year before, 2019, I read like 80 something books. That was for me a high watermark. 60 is what I'm banking on for next year. I think 60 seems like a good average number for me, and then I can usually do a little bit better, and so that's my goal. If there's anything you think I should read, let me know. Like, if you're like, oh, read this book, you should definitely read that, or whatever. If you think there's something like Summer Suns, but more my speed, throw it my way. If you think I should finish reading those Truly Devious books, because I read the first one and I don't know if I'm going to read the rest of those. Takane and Hana is over, so if there's other manga you think I would like, I'm still reading Black Butler, and if there's more Nozaki-kun coming, I will read that. I think there's a volume 13 in Japanese, but I have not seen anything that indicates that that's coming out in English anytime soon. Oh, and I'm still reading Cardcaptor Sacred Clear Card. But those things come out infrequently, so if there's other manga, especially if it's got a large back volume list, send it my way. And yeah, I've got a lot of books that I started this year and didn't finish, and we'll talk about that in my wrap-up, whether or not I will finish them or won't, and whether they're DNF for good or just did not finish this year. And that's it. That's it. I'm just like, yay! I did actually finish this one. That was kind of the one I definitely wanted to try and finish before the end of the year, and I did it, so I'm feeling very good about it. And I will see you soon with the wrap-up.